This is the naval stack that most players think is awesome. But this is where the carnage truly begins. A stack capable of eliminating an absurd number of enemies alone. In today's video, I'll show you the best naval combinations. I'll explain the essential capabilities they should have, and I'll demonstrate the ultimate defensive composition that will turn into an impenetrable wall. I think you already have an idea of what I'm talking about. Hopefully I've got your attention by this point. Let's talk about the essential capabilities your naval forces should have when fighting on public maps, while in the background I'm casually dismantling one of the most popular elite battle groups. 4 cruisers and an officer make for a solid anti-surface fleet, but what stands out to me is how players who use this combo often don't build anything else. Let's begin with the obvious requirements. Sonar and the ability to effectively engage all naval targets, including submarines. I think I don't need to explain that units without sonar are utterly useless against submarines. High damage against surface ships won't save you if you're helpless against underwater threats. Now let's talk about air threats. There are plenty of them. Drones, aircraft including helicopters, and missiles. Let's go through them one by one and start with the least significant. I don't know about you, but I personally destroy more ships using elite loitering munition than I do with naval units. This usually happens when someone sails into my peaceful nation hoping to obliterate me. Of course, you won't see this too often in public matches, because most players, after binge watching the usual YouTube guides, only think about building cruisers and setting up a naval blockade, never actually considering how to counter one. But now you've met me, and I hope you'll either use this tactic if you have access to elite units, or be prepared to face it if you don't. So, wrapping up the drone discussion, I recommend including units that can at least deal some damage to drones. Frigates, both regular and elite, as well as the naval officer, all work. At least they can neutralize a drone via AA if you run into one. Moving on, after showing you in the last video how fixed-wing aircraft absolutely outclass ships, I doubt anyone questions the necessity of AA in your fleet. That same episode also shows how important missile defense is. Though since the last patch nerfed missiles, it's become slightly less critical. If you can, go for elite frigates. If not, regular ones will still do the job. The good news is you can drag a group of frigates along with your main fleet rather than embedding them directly into your battle stack. And the final aspect worth mentioning is speed. Just for you, I attempted to combine all these traits into a single stack. And here's the result. Behold the pinnacle of versatility. A combination of elite frigates, cruisers, and ASW helicopters. Before you call the medics to escort me to the madhouse, let me explain myself. This stack is merely a concept, not a recommendation. It's so expensive and complex to build that I actually asked my ally to construct it instead of me. Let's go over its strengths. The stack can spot targets independently, meaning you're not reliant on airfields or refueling. Its anti-surface power is somewhere between destroyers and cruisers. However, the offensive capabilities are further supported by helicopters, of which you can carry up to 6. Making submarines stand absolutely no chance. On top of that, it provides full protection against everything: missiles, helicopters, and fighters, all within a 125 range. This means helicopters won't even scratch you. But the greatest perk elite frigates offer is their sonar and radar coverage, also at 125 range, which allows you to spot enemies long before they can see you. And let's not forget the 4.5 speed, which helps you either chase down slower targets or run from danger if needed. Now let's move on to a classic offensive naval combo that doesn't require elite units: frigates, attack submarines, and naval patrol aircraft. Their job distribution is extremely straightforward. NPAs spot targets, submarines attack them, and frigates provide air defense. NPAs can also be extra damage dealers, but I don't rely much on their help. The minimum setup includes level 2 frigates and top-tier submarines, just 8 research in total. That makes it a viable and very practical solution. Everything seems simple and logical, but this combo does come with major weaknesses. Frigates don't defend well against helicopters. NPAs might lack the range to reach important targets, and worst of all, submarines only move at 3.5 speed. But you'll rarely find yourself in situations where these weaknesses become critical. While I continue to roast this combo, let me show you some gameplay where I actually use submarines and cruisers, just to reassure you that I do know how to play Navy and somewhat understand what I'm talking about. In public games, submarines can and should be used. The real reason, apart from their cool factor, is that not every opponent is sharp enough to bring sonar unit along. And that's your golden opportunity to become the underwater menace they never saw coming. However, anyone who thinks 3.5 speed is acceptable clearly has never tried hit-and-run tactics against much faster destroyers. Obviously you could use a skipper to boost speed, but that bonus only applies to one stack. But I also frequently run a combo of frigates and subs, just don't forget the weaknesses. A solid alternative would be combining cruisers with destroyers, and keeping a separate frigate group for air defense, though it requires more resources and research. I personally find destroyers boring, and they come with an annoying quirk. I'm talking about the nerfed radar range at all levels except the top one. The research tree proudly claims destroyers have 100 radar range. But if you check the unit's actual stats, it turns out to be just 75. Isn't that delightful? Like ordering a large pizza and getting a slice. Let's get back to our freak show. If you're a megalomaniac, you can build a stack with 2 officers and 3 ASW helicopters. It has everything. Strong anti-ship and anti-sub power, full air threat protection, sonar and AA range at 125, and solid speed if you add a skipper. However, it takes so long to build that by the time it's ready, there might not be any enemies left. I've tried using this setup twice, and the most interesting moment was when Japan threw a bonus code division of 32 units at me. Like any stat-hungry warlord would. Of course I used it to pad my profile stats. Let's finally move on to the most powerful defensive combo that's incredibly hard to counter. It's elite submarines paired with a radar unit, or anything else that reveals naval signatures. Ideally it should also detect sonar contacts, although it's rare to meet someone who sails into your territory with subs. Radar is the bare minimum requirement, but eventually, you'll definitely want to research ASW helicopters or naval patrol aircraft. Your job is to upgrade your elite subs to level 2. Locate your target. Wait for them to wander into a patch of shallow water, and then torment them at will. If the enemy doesn't have units capable of revealing you, you can harass it indefinitely. To guarantee your invincibility, I recommend protecting your subs with stealth fighters, just in case your opponent gets sweaty enough to mobilize ASW helicopters and sail them right into your waters. Elite frigates are also a great support option, as I hope you've been convinced of by previous parts of this video. Also note that I got so cocky I sent my elite submarines into open waters. If you start using them, you'll find yourself doing the same more often than not. The main thing is to determine in advance where the enemy is concentrating forces for a naval attack. For that I strongly suggest surrounding your nation with radars. Something I do in every campaign. Even if your opponent is clever enough not to anchor directly in front of your ports, having radar coverage will buy you extra time to react. On top of that, radar is a truly versatile tool. If you have elite units, be sure to strengthen your coastal defense with elite loitering munition, which can be deployed using radars. This way your radar spots the enemy from afar, and once they're in range, hits them where it hurts. This next tip is more of a niche tactic, but radars can also serve as bait if your opponent uses Security Council in aggressive mode. Just let them attack the radar, and you'll be able to strike back while enemies are stuck on cooldown. Let's now move on to showcasing the offensive capabilities of elite subs. You thought this part would come without my favorite radars? Of course not. Elite submarines are the kind of unit just waiting for someone to wade into their swamp. Whether it's near your homeland or on the other side of the globe, it doesn't matter. If Conflict of Nations units had their own voice lines, submarines would definitely cackle like a wicked witch when attacking. Something like this. Look at this audacity. I sailed right into a destroyer nest, and they can't do anything to me. They're too slow to catch up, and the enemy lacks units that can reveal me from a distance. Frankly, elite submarines should be arrested for this level of harassment. On the other hand, it's incredibly frustrating when someone pulls this move on you and you don't have ASW helicopters, or naval patrol aircraft. In this case, at least I had my own elite subs. I managed to unmask and hit the enemy once, but I still don't know where he went afterward. So I ordered my aircraft to strike the submarines the last time they were spotted. Of course they won't do any damage, but they will help reveal the enemy's approximate location. Additionally, You can bait the opponent into striking a decoy, just like I'm doing here. The key is to lure him into attacking a fake target so you can attack while he's on cooldown. Be careful with aggressive mode though, sometimes it causes more problems than it solves. Besides the obvious use of helicopters for unmasking subs, I've come up with a genius tactic. Using spies. How about this twist? Planting 3 intelligence spies in the suspected location might just give you the upper hand. It won't guarantee precision, since it only reveals units during the daily update, but it's another sneaky trick to keep in your arsenal. That's all for today. See you soon.